This is Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, a podcast and radio program presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan.
Driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
And now, here he is, your host, Jim Ervin.
Baby, I'm home.
Well, thank you so much, Parker, and welcome to Time Signatures. I'm your host, Jim Ervin, and I'm honored to share today's guest with all of you. He's one of the new generation of blues musicians, still very new to the blues scene, but he's making waves despite his age. In 2019, he performed at the B.B. King Symposium and was given the honor of playing one of B.B. King's signature Lucille guitars. In 2022, he took third at the International Blues Challenge in Memphis, Tennessee, and won the B.B. King King of the Blues Award for good measure. He shared the stage with the likes of Christo and Kingfish Ingram, Mr. Sip, Gary Clark Jr., and others, just to name a few. This blues musician is one of a few declared curators dedicated to preserving the traditional blues created by the likes of B.B. King, Little Milton, and so many others of the day. With his debut album, The Right Man, in tow, he continues to build a following, touring domestically as well as internationally. DK Harrell, it's an honor to have you on Time Signatures. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm fine. How about you?
We're doing great. We're doing great. I got a ton of questions here, so we're just going to go ahead and dive in and get rolling. And I really can't think of any better way to start this discussion than to ask you how it felt to not only win the award, but earn the honor of playing one of B.B. King's signature guitars. That had to be incredibly surreal, yes?
Yes, it was overwhelming. I actually remember how the moment happened, like by detail. We had started the symposium, and the symposium is what people consider long because it starts at like 9 o'clock in the morning, and you're not done until about 2 or 3 in the afternoon.
Okay.
Because they have panelists, people who discuss whatever that topic is. And I think for that year, the topic was blues in the United Kingdom.
Okay.
Well, it was actually called B.B. King Symposium Presents the British Invasion with the Blues. So that was what was being covered at the time. And about around lunchtime or right before lunch, so about the 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock part or section, they would have music, and then we would dismiss for lunch. So they brought out 2 guitar cases. One of them was a red Gibson Lucille, which I'm pretty sure had to be a model between early 2000 or mid 2010s. And then the other was the custom Lucille that Gibson made for BB when he opened the BB King Museum. And Little Ray Neal, who is the younger brother of Kenny Neal, who is a regular at the symposiums, was handling the guitars. And I said, Ray, you gonna play Lucille? And he said, no, today is your day. And I remember I was just like, oh, wow. So when he handed it to me, after tuning and everything, he handed it to me. And there's a picture of me holding Lucille. And I kind of have this kind of look of sadness, And actually, I don't know who took that picture, but it was like right before I shed like a couple of tears out of pure happiness and joy that my first gig ever, my first paid performance ever, was holding B.B. King's Lucille, man. And the first song I played was Sweet 16. And all of this is on YouTube. You can actually go and watch it.
I would love to get a copy of that picture if possible. I think that'd be kind of a cool thing to help promote your appearance on the show. I'll reach out to you after the show because I would love to see that picture, man. But I want to go back. I want to go back for a minute and talk about your baptism into the blues, man. How did it all begin for you? Where did you first discover it?
Oh, it's actually a funny story, but it's true.
Okay.
And when I was about, I'll say about 19 months old, Um, I was a kind of a strange baby. I wouldn't talk. I didn't goo goo gaga like a normal child. I didn't babble, and that kind of concerned my family, and they actually thought I was going to be mute, you know. And so one day, my mother was getting ready to go to Shreveport, Louisiana, which is about 1 hour west from my hometown, Ruston, Louisiana. And my grandfather said, "Hey, here's this new CD by BB King called Deuces Wild. You know, if you put that on, he'll be good." And my mom kind of looked at my grandfather like, "He doesn't do anything already, so what do you mean he'll be good?" So, so she puts this record on while we're going down the Interstate 20, and she heard this little voice in the background singing "The Thriller's Gone," and she would turn it up and turn it down because she thought something was going on with the CD player. But she finally looked over her shoulder and saw me in my car seat with my eyes closed and swinging my head from side to side, singing "The Thriller's Gone." And that's actually how I started talking, and that's actually how I first.
Oh.
So that's the story. And she's here, so he can tell the story better than me. But that's a true story.
That is a cool story. I've got to ask you, at what age did you realize that this was going to be your path in life?
I was about 13 years old. I take that back. It was really 11 because at the age of 11, a lot of people don't know this, but I had played blues harmonica for about 2 years, and then I had stopped and picked up guitar. So about the age of 11, but I think I really got very serious about it when I was 13 and picked up the guitar because I was making videos at home. And I'll be honest, I was sounding like crap. I was not good. I didn't know anything. I didn't know a E string from a string on a harp. It was bad. And I remember I was so eager and optimistic and enthusiastic about it. I remember writing a letter to Bruce Iglar of Alligator Records and
Sure.
sending videos of me playing on a burned like disc, if I'm not mistaken. And he was like, "You have good potential, but learn about tuning." Because I was playing out of tune and everything. But that's when I really, and I won't lie, I got discouraged. But now here we are, I think almost, a little over 10 years later, and 12 years later, and I've sat and had many talks and lunch and dinners with Bruce Iglar. So we've become great friends. And he probably doesn't even remember that because I haven't brought it up to him, but I
Oh, but
should bring it up.
you should bring that up to him. That'd be a great story.
And I don't think I kept the letter at all because we moved between, that time.
Yeah.
But I remember doing it. I remember that like it was yesterday.
Yeah, you
So
should
about
bring when you see Bruce next time, you should bring that up to him. And yeah, I'm sure you guys will get a good laugh out of it. And he'll probably go, "Wow, you followed my advice. You stuck with it." Well,
he's a
listen,
great guy.
he is absolutely. I have to ask you, because you're really beginning to hit your stride in 2019 with your third place finish at the IBC in Memphis, and just less than a year later, the world came to a grinding halt with COVID. That had to be a real splash of cold water on your career, yeah?
Yes, what I did to, I guess you can say, pass the time or keep myself, trying to think of the word, in the spotlight, so people can hear me.
Sure.
They have a page on Facebook called All About the Blues,
Okay.
and it has a great deal of followers. And I was posting videos of myself playing, and some of those videos, got a couple of thousand views out of them, a couple hundred likes. And that's actually where I first encountered Rod Bland, Bobby Blue Bland's son, because he follows that page same as I. And he was like, "You need a record. You need to record. You need a record." And of course, recording takes money. So I
Oh
just
yeah.
kept telling, well, I can't record, until I have some money. Um, and then Tony Coleman, who I met previously in 20, really I met Tony in 2017, not in person, but on social media on that same Facebook page. So with COVID going on, that's what I did. I just posted videos of myself playing the backing tracks. That's all I did.
Okay. From the looks of your tour dates, you've got some great gigs lined up in the United States and also in Europe. Talk about the
Yeah.
differences between the fans in both locations. And it must feel good to be back at the grind. Would you agree?
Oh man, my manager, Michael Kinsman, is very shocked about how much I like to be away from home. Like he he thinks it's very sad. He's like, no, you have to enjoy being home. I'm like, no, my happy place is being on the road. It is with the fans is a very big difference because of course you have the language barrier. You have very few that speak English, and so what I do is I joke with them and I say, I'll be talking in the microphone. And I go, you guys probably don't understand what I'm saying, but it's okay. I've been trying to speak English now for 25 years and still can't get it right. And those, you know, start laughing, and then somebody will translate, and you'll see people start laughing. But I will say the way that the audiences are not different is that they all have a genuine love and respect for the blues and for music, period. And I make it very clear in many of my shows that music is and will forever be a universal language. Nothing will be able to replace the power that music has. I was recently in Curacao a few days ago, and I had told the audience, they say wars start because of greed, women, and politics. I said, but if you think about it, the thing that really prevents war from happening, from war, violence, riots, is music.
Right. Yeah.
And I tell them, if they don't believe me, go and watch James Brown performing at the Boston Garden, where he literally stopped a riot from happening. I think either the day or the day after Martin Luther King was killed. And
Wow.
that's the power of music. That's not the power of James Brown. That's the power of music.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is the only difference, is that it's the language barrier, but they all have the same love for the music.
Well, this is Time Signatures. I'm your host, Jim Ervin. And my very special guest today is DK Harrell, a rising blues musician who's having one whale of a time and traveling around the United States and over into Europe. And I know when you and I talked initially, you made mention of the fact that some people make a comment that, you're just trying to emulate BB King with your playing style. But I guess, what would you say to those that express that? Because clearly, I mean, yeah, you kind of have that style, but you have your own flavor as well. Would you agree?
Oh yes, I agree highly, not because of myself. I agree highly because BB was BB.
Yeah.
BB was Riley B. King. Um, but what I say to those people is, well, they compare Eric Gales to Jimi Hendrix. They compare Kingfish Ingram to Jimi Hendrix.
Yep.
They compare King to Jimi Hendrix. They compare Joe Bonamassa to Jimi Hendrix. They told Prince that he was like Jimi Hendrix. And the thing is, I used to take it in a bad way, honestly. I used to take it as, oh, I'm just a copycat and impersonator. But now I go, if you're compared to a great or the greats, that means you're just as good, if not better, than those that you idolize. You
Yeah.
fit in the same shelf or the same box that these greats are in. So at first I didn't take it too well, but now I'm like, hey, if I sound like somebody that's good, that must mean I must be doing a pretty good job. And some have said it in a sense of like it's not a good thing, but like my bass player tells me, Andrew Moss, don't fix what ain't broken.
Amen to that.
And so it's been working. And I'm not saying that's all I'm going to stick with, but I feel like with the album, the debut album, The Right Man, yes, of course, you hear BB, but you also hear a lot of Lil Milton, Albert King. A lot of people don't know this, but the song Get These Blues Out of Me, those changes that when I sing, I'm going to sing to my voice, this horse going to play with all my force to get these blues out of me. Those changes actually come from Stains. It's possibly me. It's probably me, excuse me, which was on the soundtrack of Lethal Weapon 4. So
Okay.
my music and my style is really just a mixture of things that I admire. And of course, BB is a heavy influence. Lil Milton is a heavy influence. But when you see my show, you'll sit there and go, he may sound like BB, but he's doing things that BB would never do.
Yeah, and even on your CD, I noticed, there are some comparisons that can be made to your style and BB's style, but much like you and Joe Bonamassa and others, look, Stevie Ray Vaughan, I believe, was compared to, was it Albert King or one of
Correct.
the others? Yeah, it's like I think that if you can take a little something from each of the people that that you wish to emulate or that you aspire to be like, and then develop your own style like you've done,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing to be ashamed about there, in my opinion. I mean, you're doing good.
It's really nothing to be ashamed about. Because even Ray Charles said it in an interview. We all steal from somebody. We all borrow from someone. And even BB King himself said, there's only 12 notes in music. There's only 12 keys. And there's no such thing as new music. It's taking your personality and applying it to something that's already structured.
Yes, sir.
And what you feel or what you have mentally in here and just going, well, this is what I want to do to Beethoven's fifth or whatever it may be. And I agree with it. And I feel like some people who are just severely critical, I think of people who take their jobs too seriously and take the music too seriously. So.
Well, DK, you have already had some tremendous opportunities to share the stage with some of the biggest names in the blues. I'd like you to talk about your biggest moment, either opening for or playing with alongside. Who would you pick in the back of your mind as your biggest stage moment?
That is a tough one. That is a tough one. I probably have to say Buddy Guy. Buddy Guy, let's see, around May of last year,
Okay.
my whole band had got sick with COVID, except me. We had just did Jazz Fest in New Orleans. And that following weekend, I believe it was, we had to do Buddy Guy's Legends, and we got some old band members from Junior Wells and Buddy Guy's old band
Wow.
together. Some people, I know the keyboardist came from Billy Branch's band. Mr. Harlan is a bass player, and the drum from Buddy Guys and Junior Wells' band, I think from the '80s, and I can't remember his name to save my life. And he's such a nice guy. That's who I had backing me, as well as Billy Branch's drummer on another gig. But we were playing Buddy Guys Legends, and the drummer, man, I wish I remember that guy's name. He goes out like through the side door by the stage and goes to the bar. And he comes back and he goes, "Oh, Buddy's here." I said, "Buddy Guy's not here. He can't be here." But Buddy's on the road. He was literally just at Jazz Fest. He's on the road, which I had just seen Buddy at Jazz Fest, not personally, but I saw him, performing.
Right.
And I was like, "There's no way that he's on the road. He's not here." And so he opens the door a little. And he goes, "You see that guy sitting at the bar in the white hat?" I was like, "This is just some old guy. That's not," but because he kind of had his head down. And he goes, "That's Buddy." I was like, "Okay, whatever." So uh, the guy who runs the door, whose name I can't remember now, because I meet so many people. So I hope you don't take this as disrespect, but I
No,
can't
no,
remember.
you're good. You're good.
But the young man who runs the door gets up on stage to announce me or announce us, and he goes, he whispers in my, no, we do like an hour set. Right when we're about to end the set, he comes on stage, he grabs me, and he goes, uh, "Buddy's gonna come up and do a couple with you." And I went, "Oh, okay, okay." And Buddy, stage in white pants, white hat, and his nice kind of red orange um, patterned shirt. And he started singing, and we're playing like a slow blues behind him. And after the gig, of course, I met him, and he was like, "I hear you from Louisiana." I said, "Yes, sir, I'm from Louisiana, born and raised." He said, "What part?" I said, "Resting between Monroe and Shreveport." He said, "I know where it's at. I used to have people up that way. I probably know you people." I said, "Okay, cool." And he said, "We'll get together soon." That was it. I think that was
Wow.
most, just one of those moments. And I know he does with almost every band that comes through when he's there, but I like been dying to meet him because
Oh yeah.
I had Kingfish had invited me to a show he had opened for Buddy Guy, and it was like right after COVID, right after they started letting things back open. But of course, Buddy couldn't walk into the crowd, and he
Right,
couldn't be
right.
around. So I just had to watch from backstage, like, God, I'm like 30 feet away from him, and I can't say anything. And yeah, it was nerve wracking. The patience is a virtue, and
Yeah.
it was worth the wait. So I think that so far in my career, that's been the biggest
Oh
off for
yeah.
me.
We went to see Buddy at Fred Meyer Amphitheater over here in Grand Rapids last June.
Mm.
And it was a bucket list trip for me. I have to admit, I'll be 59 next week. And
Oh,
it was the biggest show that I had seen to date of
mm.
anybody that I had seen. And he went come down off the stage, went out into the audience and walked back. And I went, I'm going to take a shot because I think he's going to come back the same way. Because I looked over here and there's like no clear path to get him back on the stage. So I walked
Yeah,
over, made my way through the crowd and I walked over about 65 feet. And sure enough, here he comes playing his guitar. And he stopped right here in front of me and started jamming. I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. I
that's so
mean,
cool.
buddy, I could have thrown my hand up on his arm and the whole nine, probably would have gotten tackled by security, but he was right here playing for me. And I
Yeah.
snapped a couple pictures with my cell phone and he worked his way back up on the stage. And I'm like, that's what I'm talking about. That's what, if you want to talk about my biggest moment going to a blues show, that was it for me. Okay. And then I got an
I,
opportunity to shoot Joe Bonamassa's first three songs in Fox Theater in Detroit in November. So that was an even bigger thrill. Um, but yeah, it's wonderful when you get to meet people in the blues and you find out that they're just like you and I. They just do a little different job, is all, you know?
oh yeah. I mean, I did meet BB in 2013, right before he went into hospice.
Mm,
Um, of course, after he was playing at the Baton Rouge River Center Theater in Baton Rouge, and he was, of course, he would stand on stage and talk to the audience afterwards.
sure.
And I kind of pushed my way up to the front. I was about 16 years old, and I was 15 when I was 16, and I yelled out, Mr. Kane," and he looked dead at me. And I said, "There's a young man standing up in the back." dancing. He said, yeah, I saw you back there. I saw you back there. And I said, I want to be just like you when I grow up. And he said, well, I don't think I want to be like this old man. I've done a lot of things. He said, but maybe you can do them a little bit better than me. And he kind of laughed and he squatted down and he shook my hand. And by the time I hit the door to go outside, I started crying. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
haven't been to a show since.
Mm.
No other concert. If I've been to a show, it was because I was invited by somebody. But as for just buying a ticket to a show, that was enough for me.
I sent my mom to see BB when he came to Michigan several years ago. It was back, I want to say 2004 or so. And she said, "Well, don't you want to go?" And I said, "No." I said, "I'll go next time." Well, there was no next time. But she really enjoyed the show and talked about what an awesome performer he was. But DK, it's absolutely exciting because I'm looking at the next generation of blues musicians and I see people like yourself who are making their way into the world of blues, and you're all staking your claim on particular territories along the way. Where do you see yourself musically speaking 10 years from now?
Well, 10 years from now, I hope that I'm still exploring. I see myself continuing to do music in a way that makes me feel good. I've met a lot of other musicians who say, write songs for the audience. And to an extent, that's true. But there's almost like trying to force somebody to do something they can't relate to. And if I sing about other people and it's something I can't relate to, then I can't feel it.
Sure.
And I think that, but if I sing about something that I've went through that people can relate to, then the message is crossed. So I hope 10 years from now, I am still not only connecting with people through conversation after the show or before a show, or not through music. I hope that I'm connecting with them through the music during the show and after the show, and when they're listening to the records. And hopefully, I'm inspiring people. And I don't mean that from a musician standpoint. I mean it as a artist who actually cares about the feelings of everyone in the audience.
Yeah.
That's my biggest thing, is just making sure that everybody leaves the show or leaves their car or leaves their headset going, I am human and I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's next for you, DK? What are you working on now? You got some music projects or what are you working on?
Yes, we are actually looking at going back into the studio in
All
September.
right.
Um, I can't give out too much information, but I will say that we want the second record to be different from The Right Man. We have ideas of what to go with it. I do not want to be put in a box of just one type of genre of blues.
Sure.
But I'm also straying away from blues rock because respectfully, there are so many that do it very well. So my goal is to continue taking traditional blues and classic R&B and funk and soul and mixing it together with traditional blues, but not where it sounds mediocre or washed or watered down, or is done the right way. And I feel like The Right Man was a step toward that.
Awesome. The album is The Right Man.
Mm-hmm.
Where can we find a copy of this? Where can we get touring information? Where can we find out how to book you? This is your shot, your chance, your shot. Tell everybody all about you and where they can find more information.
Yes, you can find out more information about DK Harrell and the DK Harrell Blues Band at dkblues.com, where our tour schedule is listed, as well as a section to purchase a copy of The Right Man. And if you aren't able to purchase a copy, because sometimes we do get sold out, please come to a show. And I promise on everything that I love that I will sign that copy for you. I will take pictures with you. And we even have pics available with my name on them after the show. So we can get those to you as well. So it's dkblues.com. Find me on Facebook, DK Harrell. Instagram is DK Blues. And I don't do Twitter because it's just sad right now.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, if you make it into the Michigan area or someplace close that I can hit outside of Michigan, I will come see you. There's not a question in my mind. And in the meantime, when you get your CD done, I would like you to promise to reach out to me because we'd love to have you back on to talk about it.
Yes,
DK here. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, yes, sir. I'll do that.
All right. DK Harrell has been my guest here on Time Signatures. Want to thank you so much for joining us and our best wishes and continued success. And of course, we look forward to seeing you on the road real soon. That wraps up another edition of Time Signatures with Jim Ervin. I want to thank DK for his time, but I want to thank you for taking time to watch or listen. Jim Ervin reminding you that keeping the blues alive is all of our goal and our responsibility, but preserving the history of the blues one story at a time, that's my mission. Until next time, so long.
This has been Time Signatures with Jim Ervin, presented by the Capital Area Blues Society in Lansing, Michigan. For more information on cabs, visit capitalareablues.org. You can find this episode and past episodes at lccconnect.org. The Time Signatures theme song, Michigan Roads, is used by permission and was written by Root Doctor, featuring Freddie Cunningham.
You know I'm crying, baby, driving up and down these Michigan roads, yeah.
Until next time, keep on keeping the blues alive.